Okay, we're back. All right, well, this is one of my All-American 41s. Great pressure canner. Thing is huge. I'll show you kind of how I fill it, but I also want to talk about the pressure canner real quick. When I first got these, they come with a little bitty, real thin little bottom rack. And what I found is that this just isn't going to work. I ran this thing, and I have to run these things for a few hours, and it dried out and it scorched really bad and it stunk up the house like you wouldn't imagine. So what I did was I welded up a little aluminum rack that goes in the bottom that lifts this up by about an inch. So we have about an inch and a half of water now on the bottom of this, and that's plenty to make sure that we don't run out of water during our 3 hours of, really, 3 hours is about what we need minimum to get these things sterilized properly. I've tried last time, but it just doesn't do it. So the biggest thing is we check our rim for any problems. I go ahead and take a chapstick and I run the chapstick about every fourth run. I run some chapstick around the rim to keep the thing from not sticking, and it actually kind of helps it seal up a little bit. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put water in it up to the bottom of the grill. Let's see here. Now it holds about 3 or 4 times the amount of water it did before. And I feel much safer about it not scorching. Okay, we have the water in there, we have the grills in there. I'm going to grab some foil. The foil's not necessarily necessary, but I find that it just makes for everything to work better. It keeps the bags from sticking. They generally don't stick to each other, but they'll stick to the side. So I'll go ahead and put some of these in here like this. There we go. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start loading it up now. Like I said before, I like to put the flaps out. I know it looks like they're not going to fit, but it's amazing. 6 of them will fit in here. You just have to take your time and work them in here. You want them tight, because if they're not tight, they move around and they'll actually kind of explode. And I don't. Sometimes I'll open the flap a little bit like this, get some air out of it, close it back up. Put a layer between them. I like to poke a little hole right there. Make sure steam gets in there. Alright, so if we can fit these last 3 in there. Okay, go ahead and push on these a little bit. I like to use a plate on here. This is actually a stainless plate I got at the junkyard. I like to put something, it doesn't even have to be very heavy, just something that weights them down. I have a heavier weight I use in my other one, but this stainless plate is just enough weight to keep them flat and to keep things from trying to get up into the safety devices and things like that. So we've got a nice full pressure canner, and it just works really good like this. But because it's this full, that's why I run it about 3 hours. So we're going to go ahead, take the lid, check the rim. It's nice and clean. Going to line up the points here. Okay, we're good. Go ahead and put the lid on. Now I go ahead and lightly tighten them all down about equal. I'm going to loosen this side up a little bit, tighten this side up. I want it about equal if we can get it, not like 1/2 inch on one side, tight on the other. This doesn't seem to work very good. So we'll go ahead and snug them all down first. And then we'll go back and tighten them all up. There we go, then I'll go around one more time. Okay. Now I have an old stove. It was the old actual range for my house. We put a brand new one in the house because my wife hated me doing this in the house. And kids don't like the smell either. So we're going to go ahead and put this on the one main burner. And because this thing has one big burner and 3 small ones, I generally get one of these up to temperature. So it'll be spewing steam out of here for a couple of minutes. I want a lot of steam to come out of here before I put the weight on it. I actually have my weights. I'm sure that the manufacturer wouldn't be happy with me, but I went ahead and weighted my weights. Went ahead and I had to add some weight to them. The problem is that it's too safety. It's so safety that it allows just tons of steam out of here. It just was jiggling like crazy. I couldn't keep it at 15 psi, and if it did, that's what happened when it ran out of water before. So now I actually added weight to the weight so that now it actually holds the pressure at 15 psi without popping all the time. Right now it'll jump up for a second, let a little bit of air out, and then drop back down. It doesn't do the constant loss of steam. I mean, I just can't lose that much steam. So you do what you want to do. I'm doing what I need to do. I don't recommend doing this, but this is what I'm doing. So it works really good for me. This is just lead fishing weights. So I'll go ahead, put it on high, leave it until steam is just rolling out of here so I can get a good steam bath in here. And I'll plug this up. I'll let it come up to 15 psi, and then we'll go ahead and then I'll turn my heat down. Well, actually, on this one, we'll slide it right over to the small burner. By that time, I'll have the second one filled and ready to go. Then I can slide it on, get it up to temperature. They're usually about an hour apart. But this will run at 15 psi. I'll have to adjust the temperature on the big burner, but not the little burner. The little burner, I pretty much leave it on high the whole time, and it won't get over 15. So I'll let this run for 3 hours. Then I just turn them off. A lot of people will do gradually step down, and they do all this stuff. I don't do a whole lot to it. I go ahead and turn them off. I actually, once the pressure starts to drop slowly, I'll throw a towel over it so that it actually slows down the cooling a little bit. Not very much, just a little bit, so that it doesn't get cold too fast. It still stays warm for, oh gosh, overnight. It'll be warm to the touch the next morning. So I'll end up pulling this open tomorrow evening after I get off of my regular day job, and go ahead and inoculate these. So, but we're gonna go ahead. That'll be a later video. Again, let's go through my recipe, and it is right here. It is Randy's New Mix, half batch, 3.5 pounds of planer chips, 5.5 pounds of pine or sawdust plugs or bedding or whatever you want to call it, 2 3/4 pounds of wheat bran, 5 ounces of plaster of Paris, and 3 gallons of water. Mix in a mixer until you can squeeze a few drops out of a handful of it, and you're good to go. So we'll see you on the next one.